Welcome to Chapter 8, Adapting Your Actions. Once you find out, once you're at this step where you have planned, you know what to do, you have the information, it's about how you have to modify your actions, when and how. So let's look at communication, which is basic to collaboration or anything. One of the different ways communication can happen is direct versus indirect. When Newman had his dream job working at Google, he wanted to make sure that he impressed his colleagues by being helpful and respectful. So after moving to Mountain View to join the AdWords team, he made sure to spend additional time working on ways to improve the product. He made his suggestions in team meetings. But 3 months later, during this performance review, he got a comment that he was not assertive enough. He did not take initiative. He was really crushed because he was trying so hard. After speaking with his cousin Furkan, who was teaching cross-cultural communication at Stanford, he understood that his colleagues expect direct communication, and he noticed an issue. So the different way of doing it was, let's say this programming loop is not good, it should be done X way. This would be a direct way of saying it. But he was saying, oh, there might be maybe a better way to program this. So for a local American, this was, quite meaningless, like maybe general suggestion, but being value. So his colleagues took his indirect suggestion as an idea without conviction behind it. But thanks to Furkan, he was able to make adjustments to how he communicated, and his performance reviewed immediately increased. It's often not that it's not possible for one person to communicate in a different way, or vice versa. It's just there's one method they're used to, and that's what they would do by default. And in some cases, they're not even aware that there's another way. So once people understand that they have to change and why, this is important, the why, then often it's can be done fairly easily. So, but if somebody is not aware that there's another way, it doesn't even enter the mind, and they can just remain frustrated, like, oh, these people, they don't understand me, they are like bad people. Like in this case, he could have judged his boss in a poor way. So, and those are the people who keep doing the same thing the same way, expecting a different outcome. Cultural intelligence helps us perceive the world in the complexity it has, and that there's many ways doing things, and whenever there's something not behaving the way we expect, we know to look for validating the situation. Like, is it really for just not done that way, or there's something else? Another important thing is the relativity. Things are relative. Many of these behaviors and values are a spectrum. So some cultures are closer to one extreme or the other, and the variance also happens within the same group. So let's say for communication, two people from the same country might have different level of directness, but generally it's grouped closer together than, let's say, from another country. And so it's important to know both that you have country differences on the inside. So when Liu, a Chinese engineer, was working in the Shanghai office for a large multinational and is chatting with Michael, who's based in Boston, they worked together for a long time. And there's this holiday party where they all happen to be in the same space finally. So Louis is complaining about how his manager is so rude by being too direct, lacking refinement and of a Chinese manager, and who can let people know what they need to know without embarrassing you. Michael is saying that I don't like my manager either. He's the opposite. It's like my manager is too indirect. He doesn't know what he really is trying to say. He wishes he would just say to him straight, okay, this is what I want, this is what I don't like, and that's it. Trying instead of beating around the bush. So they talked to both bosses and agreed that, if they could only swap bosses, it would be perfect. When they shared the name of the bosses, that's when they realized that it's actually the same person. The same person who is managing both people, because it's a global team. And this guy is Francois, who's from a French culture. So French is more direct to an Asian, but more indirect to an American. But you see, both people are talking about the same person. So as you can see, it's a spectrum. You can always have somebody who is more something or less something than you. So it's good to be aware of this. when it comes to adaptation, communication, and you have also leadership. You have different leadership styles, and what makes a leader effective is not just the how you lead, but who the followers are. And leadership and sort of two come together. One of the aspects of leadership is power, what's called power distance, as we saw in the values. A lower power distance means that it's more leadership is more egalitarian, so more casual, open. You empower the employees, while the opposite is when it's bigger, when the employees don't take initiatives, they just wait for following orders unquestioningly. This is what's valued in that culture. So when, for example, the US and Israel, when a subordinate calls the boss by his first name and they challenge an opinion the boss has given, open but politely, of course, the other the other side, as I said, you just follow orders. So in one culture, a good employee is one that speaks up when they see the problem, and in the other one is the opposite, somebody who follows instructions without question. The cultural relativity, again, is applied here. If you change context, you need to find out where to dial in your leadership so you can work effectively with the people you have. As being a good leader isn't just working well with and following your orders. It can be other aspects of behavior, like doing certain lower tasks or delegating them to a subordinate. For example, picking up lunch for the office. Excuse me. In the office, in the US, a US boss might not mind picking up lunch for his team, but if a Thai boss did the same, it would embarrass his team. His team would feel like their boss is not competent or not high stature enough, and that to have somebody, a subordinate, doing this job for them, and it would reflect poorly on them, so they would feel embarrassed. So as you saw, there was several aspects of leadership. So it's about what to adapt, when not to. Now, in some cases, you need to not adapt because of health or faith reasons. Like, let's say there's a big party and everybody's drinking. If for medical reasons you cannot drink or just don't want to, that's fine. But know that what the trade-off is. You have to find other ways of bonding and connecting. Or if you're a woman, and with a bunch of going out to drink alcohol with a bunch of males or men, might not be the safest or wisest idea, because again, in that culture, a woman who drinks might be perceived differently. And then when it comes to adaptation type, it can be what you say. So are you going to give a feedback or not? Or it's okay to ask a question, then how you say it, directly versus indirectly. And you can body language, eye contact, posture, the physical distance, choice of words, how polite, how not polite. When somebody doesn't speak English very well and you speak in English, then you can simplify. Instead of just repeating louder, which can be insulting, you can use simpler sentence structure, simpler words. And so how you pick is based on your values. So there's some fundamental things that you don't want to go against. And what's the trade-off? Like, if you take this action, then what do you have to do differently elsewhere? And also your comfort zone, of course. And in some cultures, it will be more important to make the changes because it's a culture that's more homogeneous, where people expect you to follow their unwritten rules. There are other cultures where they've always had a lot of migration and diversity, and so they're flexible. They are very accepting of different approaches. So based on this, let's do the exercise for this week, is think about ways that you had already adapted your behavior in some cases, or in some cases recently where you should have maybe adapted. So find one recent scenario where you had an interaction with other cultures, either locally or internationally, and what are the ways that you did or you should have did the adaptation. And if you did the adaptation, share a little bit about how it went and how it felt. So put this in your journal, and if you'd like to share them with the group, we'd love to hear about it. See you next time.